here. Okay, awesome. So good morning again. The thing is, today we are going to talk about the second chapter of the book, which is nothing but NumPy. But before getting to any further detail, I'm asking you one question. Imagine that in a language like Python, do we have this ability? By the way, what is the @ class code? Let me just tell you later. Do we have this ability to say A is equal to 10 and it is Python, not C#. And then after a few seconds, I say A is Helen. Yes or no? Yes. Do we have this? Yes. Excellent. That is a good way of. What is your name, sir? Matthew. The winner of the bonus marks yesterday. Awesome. Let me just find Matthew. And gentlemen, you are as well. So what's your name? Yeah. I'm Harlan. Can you tell again? Sorry? Harlan. Harlan. Another bonus winner yesterday. Okay. Okay, this is possible, but how about this? Is it possible to have such a thing in C#? Yes or no? No. Okay, I want to show you a solution and tell me if that solution works, yes or no. I'm going to say var instead of saying int sample equal to 10. So sample is a var object, var var, right? It could be anything. So the first line, line number 8 here, I say var sample equal to 10, and then in the next line I change my mind, right? And then I say sample is equal to result. Is it going to accept yes or no? No. Your name, sir? Mark. Not Marco, Mark. Mark. Okay, Mark, I found you. Okay. Well, you already have one bonus mark. If you want the next, please explain. C# is language. So when we're going to compile this code with var, we were going to transfer to E, and when we try to use straight line and assign it to E, it's going to be a mistake. Lovely. Yes, sir. Did you, under the var signal, convert 7 into the string, and then it would work? No, it's only for then it's only for E. It's like it's you cannot change it like Python, JavaScript. It's assigned to E type. You cannot even assign it to another. No, then even you cannot even transfer to another name type. Double, low, decimal only. Lovely. Do you see this conversation that we had? Actually, this is the spirit of having these kind of classes and labs lectures. This makes these classes different from Udemy courses that you participate online and you just learn a few things. I'm mostly memorizing, not learning from each other. So this kind of flipped classroom, active type of learning is something which is going to persist in our brain forever. And that's what I very much like about this class. I don't know how, but kind of it's like a shape up of active people in one class. Yeah, good. Let me just show you one thing here. as Mark said, it is statically typed kind of environment, because whenever you say var, it doesn't mean that we have the flexibility to choose whatever we want whenever we want. It means that if I hover the mouse, var in C# means, hey, Reza is lazy. I didn't have time, or I didn't want to spend any energy, but okay, you computer, you define it. If I have one just teeny comment on what Mark said is, it doesn't need even to get to compile time. Even here, it says, you know what? Int is equal to what? Yes. I'm going to get to that, I promise, in 10, 15 minutes, but awesome. So that is what makes C# variables like what we have here, sample. It's like a label to a portion of the memory. And that's it. I see that one friend looked at me and said, Reza, what are you talking about? Look, whenever you say int a, technically a is nothing but a label to that portion of the memory. You place 10 inside that portion. Huh? But what about Python? Python, we have maximum flexibility. You can just, let me just bring this one. And guys, don't worry, you're going to have, whatchamacallit, you're going to have the whole code later. At the end of NumPy chapter, I'm going to upload the whole Colab for you. But before getting any further, N3W. So it's going to be N3W. This is the add class code that I always forget to tell. So as you see here, if I say sample equal to 10 here, and I say sample equal to John, and I run the code, not a single problem. It compiles both. So it shows that we have lots of things behind the scene that gives us this facility, this flexibility. So we have to pay the price. What could be the price? There's one question. Imagine that you want to deal with data sets. Are all the data sets numerical data sets? Like some columns, some rows of numbers, or some of them could be pictures, sounds. You could have perceptual images, voices, and so on, and the structure, right? You could have both kinds. Whenever you want to do manipulations over the data, at the end, you have to convert them into arrays. I repeat it. Whenever you want to do any manipulations, you need to, at the end, you need to work with arrays. And guess what? For something like MNIST, you're going to have 10,000 pictures. It's a huge number. If I want to use something with low efficiency, it takes forever to go through the deep learning process. So we need something better. You may say, Reza, what are you talking about? Let me just show you something. Not this. Okay, look at this.
A thing that holds it, specifically a number between 0 and 1. It's really not more than that.
Okay, pictures. How do you think we can convert pictures into numbers? Any idea? Yes? Using binaries, right? Still ns, right? Oh. ns. It was not 100%, but good. Who else?
So we convert picture into RGB patterns, then convert it into binary.
Into binary.
So like there.
You added one more into it. Good.
There is a specific well like rent with you 1%, and then convert the part binary. That's how we do it.
Good. Anybody can add anything to what Maharshi said? Yes, sir.
I just have a question. Is this one referred to as model weights or no?
This is what? Which one?
When they refer like, a lot of talk about AI, they refer to these things called model weights. That what we throw.
Yes, yes, awesome. The reason that I show you a bit of things that would be the main concern in the next semester is to see what we are practicing now is the tools that we are going to use for the next semester. So we need to have those tools. I just want to tell why we learn these kind of things. Yes.
I'm not sure what it is, but I found out there's something called color quantization algorithm.
Wow, oh, that's beyond my understanding, but okay, awesome. Let's look what that color quantization means.
For example, the network starts with a bunch.
Do we have all zeros and ones, or we have other values? Lovely. So if it is possible to just convert those which are very bright into one, and those that are in the middle, say, okay, if you're above 0.5, convert it to 1, and if you are below that, convert it to 0, and it's gonna make a kind of sharp edge for the digit. But normally we have numbers between 0 to 255, and then we are gonna normalize it, but forget about that. How many pixels do we have here? 28 by 28, right? So imagine that if the concept that we are talking, if the container is something with low efficiency, it takes forever. But look at this one. The first thing that we do, 28 by 28, we convert it to
Neurons corresponding to each of the 28 times 28 pixels of the input image, which is 784 neurons in total. Each one of these holds a number that represents the grayscale value of the corresponding pixel, ranging from 0 for black pixels up to 1 for white pixels. This number inside the neuron is called its activation. And the image you might have in mind here is that each neuron is lit up when its activation is actually done. So all of these 784 neurons make up the first layer of our network.
Did you see that? So 28 by 28, we did something, and actually there are some functions, but at the beginning of next semester, we are going to use all manual kind of processes to just make that, and we call this reshaping. So we have 28 by 28, but in order to fit our neural network with a kind of array, we need to do the reshaping. Huh? Let's get back to where we started. Definitely, the major part of deep learning, whether we want it or not, is dealing with arrays. And then it says that no matter what the data are, the first step in making them analyzable will be to transfer them into an array of numbers because of the images. But what is wrong with using the default values that we have in Python? It says that for this reason, efficient storage and manipulation of numerical arrays is absolutely fundamental to the process of doing data science. We'll now take a look at the specialized tools that Python has for handling such numerical arrays, which is called NumPy package, which is the contract form of numerical Python. So that NumPy provides an efficient interface to store and operate on dense data buffers. Look at this one. It says NumPy arrays provide much more efficient storage and data operation as the arrays grow larger in size compared to the other possibilities that we have. One question, the original Python, did it have arrays? Yes or no?
But it does not have a two-dimensional or multi-dimensional.
No, I can add, but it is had, but it has a base, multi-dimensional base. Even least.
Arrays list, which one initially? Wow, it shows that, guys, you know more than me, honestly. So just let's see. We're gonna follow the book if you don't mind and see if it has or not. Yes. Wow. Okay, good attempt. Let's see. So NumPy arrays form the core of nearly the entire ecosystem of data science tools in Python. Everybody, please get to Colab and log in there, please. And the first command that let's just try together is this import NumPy and NumPy dot __ version of this. If you like, use that. Yeah. I just want to, get used to all the environments. So yeah. Don't worry. Yes.
And NumPy is just a library that handles the numbers. It's not, so you have to do a file.
It can. There are some things. There are some facilities. Then I don't want just to say yes or no because the correct answer is way more. But if you want to deal with data sets, the actual tools that you have to use, the actual library is Pandas. But in Pandas, whenever you get the information from the file, then you start converting that into arrays, and NumPy gets to the C. So there are several libraries. Good question. Okay, guys, those who use their own version of IPython or Anaconda, what is the version that you see? All of us should see 1.23.5 when we use Colab, but how about Anaconda?
124 something, 124.3.
Okay, so it shows that Anaconda's version is higher than those that you installed recently. Okay, it's higher than this.
Older. It's like, well, it's newer than this.
Yes, newer than mine. Look at this one. We use dot __. I have forgotten. Anybody remembers that? What do we call those __ kind of thing? Sorry? Somebody said something.
It's like a private method, so.
Maharshi, that's why I said that states. Exactly, Maharshi. One of them is private, the other one is. And I heard.
That's not the.
Yes, that's, yeah, Mahir, why you are hesitating? Mahir as well. Mahir, which group are you in? Okay, so.
I think you have to add.
Yeah. I'm gonna convert. I waited to make sure that the list is finalized, then I'm gonna just print again. Okay. As our friend said, special or hidden methods that we have. So we use __ to filter the most common ones. Let's go to the next part. Mostly we use import NumPy as NP or scikit-learn as SK, or pandas as PD, and this kind of things. So that's how we name it, using, what do we call that? MP?
And please,
Alias. Matthew again, right? And actually, that's a good thing, Matthew. You know what? I remember I had amazing team members. And the last week or the last 2 weeks, if everything goes fine, we could have a little bit of time. So mostly I share something extra curricular things. Like, I remember we used Tableau in one of the classes. I taught Tableau because we had one extra week. But anyway, in the final week or final weeks, when people have already collected lots of bonus marks, they have other assignments and other dues, so they can just have this peace of mind that I don't go to that optional class, I spend the time. So it's a good thing. Let's go to the next part. This guy is going to give us what? I've forgotten the name of that specific term. Give chance to others as well, Maharshi. Okay, so if we say numpy question mark on the right side, you see that we have that Docker string and it explains everything, right? Happy? Cool. New face, right? Very welcome. Okay, what is this one? This is a kind of collection. Well, it's a list. When we say range 10, what is going to happen? Please, everybody, type that. Say L equal to list of range 10, please. And then say either print L or just L, and it's going to give you something like that.
From 0 to 9.
Yeah, as you said, if we say that, and what if I say, let me just ask you something. If I say 0, comma, is it going to accept that, yes or no? And if I run it, it's going to give the same. So 0 is a kind of default if you don't mention it. Huh? But if I say, for instance, 3, then it's going to be, is it going to be 4, 5, 6, or 3, 4, 5?
3, 4, 5.
Excellent. So the guys, this is, so if you say 10 or if you say 0, 10, they are the same. And the left side is inclusive while the right side is exclusive. And you're going to see lots of benefits later why we have that kind of concept. Except one place in pandas, in all the places we have that kind of left side inclusive, right side exclusive, except just one place. So I don't know how, but I want you to think you are the one who wants to design. I'm not going to ask questions. When I start coming for people are just going to get to the mind first. So imagine that you want to implement Python. How are you going to inject that flexibility of the type list? Because every single element that we have in the list could be different. One could be integer, the other one could be string, the other one could be float, you name it, all the times. How could we have that flexibility? Think about it, talk to your neighbor, use ChatGPT, whatever. And the most important thing is not reading from the content that you find. Explain what, please. Again, Rosa, what are we searching? How we are going to implement that flexibility that we have in this. Imagine if you want to write the interpreter yourself. Something has to be in this. Sounds okay.
Well, it gave me 7 drastically different options. From dynamic typing to custom data structures.
Okay, how to implement it? Imagine if you want to implement it. Yes, sir.
The variables are more complex compared to the language.
Hmm.
It's actually, object is fairly complex. You can say the type and the information compared to just specific input.
Lovely. What's your name, sir?
Carl.
Carl. All right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. Let's start from the simple environments like C, C#, Java. Can I have your attention? Do I have camera here? Okay, so let me just open that and show that part. Yep. Yay. Listen, when we say A in C or C# and we say int A, it means how many blocks of memory we need. If it is int 32, for example, it means that there are 4, right? Is that right? 4 bytes. So it knows that 1, 2, 3, 4 bytes are there. I don't need to say anything else. I just need to have one label for that block of memory saying that, hey, computer, reserve that block for me and let's call it A. Let's call it Reza. Let's call it whatever. Okay, what is the content inside that location of the memory? Okay, put 10 as the value inside that location. Does that make sense? But for something like Python list, we need to say where to go, the location in the memory. That's one thing. The second thing that we need to consider is the size of that location. Because we didn't say, hey, everybody there are integers or strings or whatever. We're saying that a specific portion contains integers. The next one contains float. The next one contains double, whatever. Huh? So we need to say first the location for allocating and deallocating, because later when you are done, you have to release the memory. The other thing is the size of that part. The other thing is the value that you are going to have inside that and the specific type that you want to use. Look, I always say this example, and I want you please, if you see the, oh, that's not for this class. If you see such a, strange kind of picture, always remember this. Python, data types in Python, like traveling with kids. You have lots of values. Information about information, right? Okay, but traveling alone is like this. Like just having one knapsack. This is C sharp. Does that make sense? Okay, fast luggages, lots of luggages. Always remember that. By saying this, let me just close. I don't need cam now. And getting to the our friends correctly address that in Python you have dynamically typed variables, while in C or Java we have statically typed variables. Here is a very nice image that I explained that, and we are gonna get to. You see that it says C integer is just like one logo that you have for a specific part of the number. But for Python, you have huge luggage, but the values compared to the whole state that it occupies is cumbersome. So we have lots of luggages, but the value is tiny, teeny particles. In other words, look at this. We need to say, and I just use those notations to summarize it, and it's easy to review for the midterm. So we have that memory allocation or the allocation, and we have variable type if it is integer, if it is double, if it is what, and then the size of that specific, and then the value that you have inside. So we have lots of luggages, 4 luggages, but just a tiny, teeny part of it is the value, right? Guys, don't worry, I'm gonna just knock the door. Just remember this part. Imagine that you want to deal with 1,000 images. And imagine for every single image, you have something like 784 what? Values that we already talked about between 0 to 200. Is it rational? Is it logical that we have lots of luggages? That you say, okay, what do you have inside this luggage? I tell you that it's integer, and it's a good integer, and it has just 4 bytes. Okay, perfect. Let's go to the next. What is this inside this luggage? Well, actually, it's another good luggage, integer, good integer. And what about the next? And let's do this for 784 luggages, and you just covered the first picture. And you have 1,000, 10,000 of that. MNIST, the data set that we're going to work with, has 10,000 pictures. This is not efficient. We need something better. And the news for you is, guys, initially, Python didn't have array structure. But later, due to the lots of requests, they added. But even that injected concept of array has no efficiency. That's not a good efficiency. It's the more accurate way. We already covered that part. We said that in Python, you have that flexibility, and flexibility in Python comes with a price. We talked about it. And then in the next part, we said that C or C# cannot accept that part, because even if you say bar, as Mark said, it's going to decide it is integer, and you just cannot override it. It says Python variables are more than just their value. Remember, lots of values. They also contain extra information about the type of the value, right? It says the standard Python implementation is written in C. And to be more accurate, whenever we have one variable and that variable is C struct. Do you know a struct? Struct would have different parts. The structure. It could have name. For instance, guys, what is the famous struct that we always use as example? The student struct. Name, last name, ID. You saw that we have a struct that has these parts. It's not just a label like C, it's a struct. And now C integer is essentially a label for position in memory whose bytes encode an integer value. A Python integer is a pointer to position in memory containing all the Python objects information that we saw in the top of the page. Now, I want you please, everyone, make sure that you are going to implement all these parts. We already covered this. Please, inside Google Colab, type these guys. And then if you say, hey, what is the type of specific elements in the list? It is possible. But is it possible to say what is the type of full list? Yes or no?
All this, like L.
Is it possible to say, okay, because all of the elements that we have there are integers, is it going to say, okay, I'm not going to have tons of luggages to say the same thing. I'm going to just bring one luggage out and say all of them are
A list. It's a general say list.
you test it. Don't. Your name is
Here.
sorry, Peter, the one who saved me for extra, so for missing persons, right? Thank you, Peter. We have two types of people, those who see the trouble and problem and they try to find solution for it. We call them engineers. Okay. Let me just bring this thing. If you see for one element like this element, could be fine. If you say, show me the type of that, it says integer. But what you get when you say, show me the type of whole list, it's not going to say, because all of them are integers, let's consider integers. No, it's going to show you this list. Huh? Is it possible to change, to convert the first element, which was 0, into string 0? Yes or no?
Yes.
Why not? So it is possible, and if you just run the code, it's going to show you, yes, that kind of single code, which shows string. Guys, is the speed reasonable? It's not fast, or hopefully. Okay. I have issue understanding this line of code. I want you to convert it to something that I can understand. And this one has fat bonus mark, not bonus mark, fat bonus mark. Do you see this one? Do you see that line? It says that type item for item in L3. I just hanged. I couldn't understand what is happening here. I was just, my brain was. Can I have a minute? Guys, convert to this. The kind of reasonable code that my brain can understand. I mean, you're talking to the kind of old guy, which the brain is wired to have 4 items in L3 colon and then the rest. Right? So I'm gonna just walk around, just be careful of this. Unintentionally watch your monitors as well. So just make the code, and that fat bonus mark is going to be given to those friends.
Well, what exactly?
Just convert that to a traditional form of for loop,
Would it work on the terminal?
whatever works. Just to let you know, this type of loop is called least comprehension, sorry. List comprehension, and I learned that is why it's very new. One of the friends in the previous session was kind enough, Anand, to tell me that we call it list comprehension. Yes. Lovely. And this. We complain about the lack of response. Tons of response. Well. Done. Further. Not for that is. Well, that's really great. Awesome. So if you want to talk so far, and it is just 45 minutes. Can I, if you don't mind, cross the time. But we care about meetings, this one thing. You use the same thing. I want to use it if my brain is wired to have 4 loop and then colon or something. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, change it to something that I can understand. This one I can. Done? I mean. Well, that's. Excellent. And do we have Diego in this class? Diego, okay. Diego, are you the one who answered some questions yesterday? Actually, we have 2 Diegos, and I didn't know that until I needed to enter the bonus marks. Then I realized that there are 2 Diegos. I didn't know what to do, so I gave bonus marks to both. So please, from now on, say which Diego you are, okay? Yes. That's correct, Dennis. You already have that. Good. Diego, how many step? Yes. Diego. And 18. Good. Started strong. Nice. Okay, let's see. Excellent. Everybody is and the names. Thanks. Okay. Excellent. So whenever you could just solve it, please let me know. What's you doing? Okay, so don't worry, because I'm just finding it. Yeah. And the second, yes, wrong. Good. No need to check. Maharshi. And Maharshi name. Sorry? Neha Jayashree. Do you know why? Not everybody can remember your names at the right. Didn't you have a question? Why were you know my name, Maharshi?
I don't.
Why?
I talk too much and I interrupt too much.
No. Maharshi Maheshwari. You know that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yes. I'm sorry. Yes. So what's your name? Harlan. I should remember Harlan. Orland. Thank you, Orland, and Nagin, Ben. Thank you, yes. Peter. Bravo, and Mahyar. Mahyar, your section was found. Mahyar. Anybody else? What's your next step? Sorry? Kai. Bravo. And Carl. I don't need to check because at any condition you're right. All right. Okay, and your yes, sorry. No, just I don't need when you say that it's correct. Casey. Can you just put, do you remember what is your number? No, I mean. It thinks alphabetically based on the person. Number 5. Casey, yeah, so would you please remember that number 5 and your name or lovely. Okay, I found you. And Joseph. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so if you don't mind, sorry, and just these 3 friends, and then after that, your name. Sorry. Your name and the name. Y-A. Try to remember again the name. Yes. And your name for it. Now, you know that's I got age. Can you please say it louder? I have to come there. No, just yet. No, that's the first letter of your name. Spring. You answered yesterday 2 bonus questions, right? Was it updated? Did you check your mark updated answer? For the power? Yes. I know the name. Yes. Chloe, and you're from the other section. Okay, awesome. So, yes, I'm sorry. Sorry? Abhishek. You have to Abhishek, just be careful that you have to mention Abhishek. Okay, and your name, sir? Raleigh. Bravo. Okay, so let's just continue if you don't mind. The other thing is, what if I use, as you see here, different types, like the question that they ask, see if I have the answer as well. So what I learned from you is, yes, Reza, it is possible. First, instead of that, I could say for C in L, print C, that kind of look that I know. And this is something that we had over there. Is it possible to combine them together? Most of us solved it this way. We just said print something. Most of us. But what if we wanted to have it in a list? You see, that kind of Python comprehension form is awesome because 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, just to make something that you can do it in one shot, one line. First, you have to create an empty list. Let's call it LX2. Then you're gonna say for every element that you have in L, append the string version of that element into LX2. It's gonna go through all the. When I see such a thing, I say, okay, that person was not in the class. It's a right code, it works fine, but it shows that we don't get the essence of Python. You're gonna see Python is a language that you don't need to go through loops very much. How about this one? If you say true, 2, 3.0, and 4, technically you have all the possible data types in one list. And the best is to say, show me the type of items that I have for every item that I have in L3. Do you see how I read it? Show me the type of items for every item in L3. That is how you're gonna just memorize it little by little. But Reza cannot understand this. Please, at this time, let's just keep it for the first 3 people who can answer as fast as possible. Convert this to old-fashioned for loop kind of thing. This time, please use LX4, for example, as an empty list and add every element. Do not only print it. Thank you. You have an example over there, right? Done?
I already used that word.
Done? That you did? Run out of the space for bonus points. What should I do? So let's just say,
Give it to the other person.
oh, that's okay. So yeah. So 2, 4, 5 bonus marks plus Roy, right? Oh no, Matthew said. Matthew, sorry, I thought that's it. You said. Matthew and don't say your name. I'm gonna just. I knew it. Harlan. Good and done. Okay. Mega. Here we go. But you are in another section, right, Mega? It's like a puzzle for me every night to go from different lists. So Mega is there and Gaurav. And Enes. Okay, so and Nagin. Enes. Okay, so guys, to the interest of time, let's just have a competition. Let's say, okay, the first 5, 6, but for the next one, look at this. Yes, as many of you already, this is a kind of easy way. I said no, so no bonus mark for this, but this is something that we wanted to have. Say there's an empty list, and for every single item that we have in L3, convert it. Well, show me the type of that item and append it to LX3. Is it clear? And finally, after you finish, you're gonna just print the overall list. Look at this one. This is the first time that they added concept of let me just read this quickly before we get to that part. Because this flexibility comes at a cost. To allow these flexible types, each item in the list must contain its own type info. It should have its type info, like reference count and other information. That is, each item is a complete Python object. So, okay, this one is important. Whenever you have a list, it contains, if you have a list of 100, you're going to have 100 extra luggage, no matter if all of them are integers or all of them are strings or something. So you're going to have a combination of all these things. Look at this. Percentage of the list is flexibility because each list element is fully structured. We've mentioned it again here. It's a kind of structure, C structure, containing both data and type information. But fixed type, non-price type arrays lack this flexibility. The good thing about that is it's much more efficient in storing and manipulating the data because you remember that I said, what is this luggage? It's integer. Okay. How many bytes you have? Well, 4 and so on. And you ask that questions for 100. What if instead of that, say, okay, guys, everybody is like this, say yes, yes, okay, so like one luggage, the rest please come. This is Python, this is non-Python. Means just store one and accept all the similar data in a consecutive locations in the memory. Does that make sense? Harlan?
Last semester in data structure algorithms, we're gonna have a Python list for links that. And the basic link list has the node value and then the next node. And the Python list, does that mean that the node has value the next node, but then also has like the data type stored on each node?
The most inefficient way of making this is what we have in Python. But the most flexible at the same time, yes, sir.
I actually have a follow-up question.
Yes, please.
Similar to that, it just looks like it's,
I'm gonna get to that in 2 minutes. Yeah, that's that picture that we have on top of the next page, but I want to, okay, let's just talk about this one. Look at this, the arrays. It's like you have that luggage, you see that object head, it says that Python object, Python object head. It's like having one luggage for all the elements that you have, 100, 1000, 1 million. But look at the next one. For every single elements that you have, you need to say, okay, how many steps should I go? You have dictionary for every single element. You have those containers and it shows different locations in the memory and they're not consecutive like arrays.
it looks like a hash tag.
Something like hash coding or any mechanism. The thing is we have several decoding and coding phases. They are gonna time consuming kind of thing. It's not like, okay, guys, tell me for arrays, finding index number 100, is it constant or is it long or what? It's constant because you go to a table and directly you get to that point. But here you have to go to a loop to go through all the items, then you should calculate and then it's going to point to somewhere, right? In all the aspects, the left side is more efficient, the right side is more flexible. So let's go to the next part. It mentioned that here in Python 3.3, they started adding arrays in Python. For doing that, you need to say, hey, import array, and then first you have to create a list and then convert that list into an integer array. Don't you see that it is something like redundant? First, you have to create a list with all those hustle and bustle, and then you say, you know what, now let's convert it to. Why should we do that? Faster. Well, yes, it is faster, but what if we could do it in one shot? we don't need to go to two steps. Immediately we could say that, hey, I need an array. Why should I just first create that redundancy and then guess? Sorry? Yes, we'll need to do that, but what I want to say that is why that arrays inside, look at this, what it says. The built-in array module available since 5.3 can be used to create dense array of a uniform type. Let's look at this. It says that, apart from the fact that I means integer, it says that much more useful, however, is the ND array, which belongs to the NumPy or numerical Python package. Right? So this one, you see, we go through some steps unnecessarily. We need to just first add list, then convert it. It's not efficient. The best is using NumPy. And in NumPy, as always, we say import NumPy as empty, and then we get to the next part. For these few samples, first we manually assign those values. So how about that? Everybody, please make sure that you could type these samples. First, import NumPy as empty. Yes, sir.
Is there any advantage to providing type hints in base Python, like efficiency wise?
I can't get your question completely. Can you please?
Is there any efficiency advantage to providing type hints? You know, right, like outside in just vanilla Python? Or is it just for like readability?
Okay. Let me ask you one thing. If I know all the elements that I have in a row, they're all integers, right? And I want to access the elements number 10. What do I need to do? Simply, I say every integer contains 4 bytes, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, that's the first element, 1, 2, 3, 4. I just do the simple math and I jump into byte number 40 to 43, and that would be the element number 10 that I was looking for, right? It's going to be this fast. But what if it was a list? So I have to say, okay, what is this one? It's integer. How about the next one? It's boolean. How about the next one? It is float. I have to calculate one at a time. I can jump to that. So we see how fast it is, right? Do they answer your question?
Yeah.
Partially, I guess. Okay. The other thing is, look, if there is a list, and we're talking about the list, that every element that we have in a list is separate objects. Do you remember that we have lots of luggages? The example, remember? But family with kids, lots of luggages. And we have to go one at a time, consider this one okay, pass, consider this one pass. We can't directly access any location. The good thing about list is, the good thing about array is, you don't need to go one at a time. You just calculate, directly go to that location. Yes, Peter?
That question, so the benefit of NumPy arrays is that it matches with data type.
Yes.
Instead of like
The good thing is, what is array technically?
Of similar type of data.
Excellent. Arrays are collections of similar data, right? I repeat it. Collections are arrays of similar data. In 5 minutes or something, we are going to have a break, 10-minute break. So let's just get to one part. what is this one? We say NumPy array 1, 4, 2, 5, 3. Guys, what do you think the type of these value integers, right? How about this one? If you have just one float, is it going to typecast it to cast it to a smaller, or it's going to consider the widest or the biggest range?
I actually have a question in regards to that. How does it decide which data type is gonna be the main based on the first element of the array, or just?
Well, actually, it says, okay, let's just take a look at the list and the, yes,
It's not who use it in making something that is like, and that's what makes it preserve that. Enforce the data type.
your name again? Lucas. Lucas Kenji. Right? Matthew and then Negi. Matthew? Good afternoon. Sorry? You just wanted to acknowledge what he said? Accept the acknowledgement as bonus. Awesome. So,
I think any whole number in this number is 4, because this 4 can be 4.00, but the fourth number can be a whole number. Because it's better than considered in ordinary way.
The 3 in that case.
his family member, I have to give bonus. Partially, I can relate to them, but let's just consider. Guys, look at this one. Can I have your attention? Look, whenever you have a list of numbers, so imagine that one is integer, the other one is float. What is the biggest range here? Float. So we are gonna consider the biggest range for it. How about this? What if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, but later there's a chance that you change it, guys? If you don't say that, the data type, D type is float 32, what could actually happen is, later if you say change the first value into 3.14, it's going to say, uh-oh, Reza, you have decided to consider all these numbers as integers. It's not possible. I'm gonna truncate the values. If you have a chance for having floating points later, you have to determine directly, explicitly, the D type is equal to float. And you see there are two ways of saying that. One is just simply saying float 32. The other one is saying np dot float 32. So now it is 12:10 or 9, but let's consider 10. Yes, 10. And then let's have 10 minutes break. And please, after that, let's continue sharp 12:20. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
This summer, I was playing around with machine learning and neural networks. And for the most part, it was all in data frames.
That's pandas part.
And pandas. Are those considered like as fast as arrays as well?
Well,
Because I never used array at all. It's just the data was too big.
you used it, but in a lower layer, you don't see what
Right.
it's already used.
So it's using the main data stream in that array, so then it couples them all together. The words
It's true,
looks like a sheet or whatever.
true. Yeah.
And is it different lines of arrays or is it just like a matrix? Like they make arrays of arrays? Is that how they do it? Or
I can't get correctly, but what I can guarantee that we are gonna see the mixture of both arrays and what do we call it? The data frames will be used, and whenever you open the hatch and see what is inside there, you see nothing but arrays.
right, okay. So it's more just like we're gonna learn arrays for like smaller data, like 700.
Something, yes.
And then once it's like isn't that like 60,000? The handwritten data set.
I'm not sure, was it 10,000 or
I thought 10,000 was the test. And then the.
let me just check
the
it.
Training is 60. I could be wrong too.
MNIST, there are, I'm 100% sure that we have one data set that has 10,000, but MNIST sample number. You're right, 60,000, yes.
So like, would that
Absolutely.
be too much?
And
to do
10,000
in-
test samples, yeah. Sorry.
So then would that be too much to do in just a single array and that's why we're doing a data frame? Like, I'm just confused as how we're going to just be using. Like, are we gonna be using arrays to train on? Or we're just using arrays to just like get the building?
You know-
block and then move?
For now, I think that it's a little bit early. I want to
Right.
get that, but no doubt, and I'm very much eager to. If you like, between 2 semesters, we can have a plan to just review them together. So don't worry. But for now, this step is a little bit soon. What we do, we just at the beginning, we use manually some conversions by ourselves, but later we're gonna use. You work with them normalized? Or not?
Like in Skype?
No, normalized in, yes, in Scikit-learn, but before in TensorFlow or in,
Yes, yeah, like, it's like converting all the data so that they're like within the range of 0 to 1, or doing like strings to numbers. It's like I did one of the projects over the summer was making a model that took a string and then predicted a label for it based on other data. So yeah, I had to do like vectorize it. Yeah.
normalizing, vectorizing is on, yeah.
Yeah.
Close, yeah. So what I'm gonna do is, these are amazing things, but how about this? I use 25 minutes as well. I'm going to. So let's start amazing. I mean, I actually want to update my carry on course in this semester. If you like, I can just have a kind of goals and plans.
Can you suggest me some ideas of the project that I?
Sure. Sure. Definitely, I'm gonna stay and talk, okay? آره میتونیم صحبت کنم. نه، خواهش می‌کنم. فقط یه چیزی که هستش، من باید ایمیل هم مشکل داره، باید هم در چیز کنم برسم بهش، ولی مثلا یه نیم ساعت صحبت کنم بعد برسم به اون کار. اوکی، عالی. So still we have 1 minute. Okay, so let's get to the collab and continue. What is the meaning of this line? I couldn't get that. Anyone can explain this? Yes, Anis.
Basically giving a range for the list, and the list that we created doesn't vary.
Can you elaborate more, please? Okay. Okay, so let me just explain, because we have a lot to cover and I wanted to wait for a couple of more seconds, and after that talk about assignments and term project. So look at this one. Just as always, forget this part. for I in this list in 2, 4, 6. Get the first element for every I. Let's get I as 2. Then I is going to be 2, then 2 plus 1, then 2 plus 2. Then is it going to contain 2 plus 3 as well? No. So that is why it's going to be 2, 2 plus 1, 2 plus 2, but not 2 plus 3, exclusive on the right side. What is the next element for the same thing, 4, 5, 6? What is the last element? 6. There's going to be 6, 7, 8. Does that make sense? So it's going to generate like that for us. And if anyone says this one is not very much easy for me to understand, this is another version of it. You remember we said for I in this, let's say print numpy range I all the way to I plus 3. And then, okay, this is the time that we start generating arrays by ourselves. This is the first command for arrays that we mostly use, and that is np numpy dot zeros and 10. What is that 10? Means that I want to create an array of 10 elements that they are all zeros. But why we need to say, hey, the data type is integer? Is it really necessary? Yes, no, maybe. Because, hey, 0 is integer, right? Yes. Oh, is it yes? Actually, the answer is no. So,
Oh, false.
yes. Because look at this. If I don't say one hint, 99% of the time that I say something, the correct answer is the other one. But be careful of that 1%. Here we're saying numpy dot zeros 10, and if you don't mention it, see the difference between this one and this one, and that's actually what Mark, if I'm not mistaken, talked at the beginning of the class. The default, or no, the other friend asked. Anyway, you see the default is float. The default value for this is float, unless that you insist saying that, hey, it is integer. Does that make sense? The next one, what is this one? It says the other function that we have is ones. And like zeros, instead of just 0, we are going to have 1. What is this guy? It says 3, 5. Is it possible for zeros to do the same thing, for instance, to say 3, 5? Yes or no? So if you just say it's going to do the same thing, right? But instead of having zeros, we're going to have ones. The other thing, okay, if you don't mention that the type is, for instance, is it possible that I say int here the same way? You can just say, and if you don't mention it, it's going to be the default is float, huh? Whether you mention it in this float or not. So let me just give you a few seconds. All of you try these just to have practice and more muscle memory practices. دلم می‌خواست منم چقدر دلم می‌خواست منم همینطوری. Okay, whenever you're done, please give me a signal. Thank you. Merci. Diego, right? Merci. Okay, let's go to the next part. We have another function that says full, and full is combination of one question. Is it possible that I say this one, for instance, 3, 1, for multiply this, is it going to work? Yes or no? I should ask first and then press enter. So can we say full is a combination of ones and just simple multiplication? And now the next question. How many steps do we have in zeros or in ones? How many steps we have when we define zeros? For instance, you say 0 is 10, or 0 is 4, or 0 is 5. Look at this one. In zeros, first, you allocate memory, like this, 0 is 5. And this is the step 1, allocation. And in the next step, you're gonna say, okay, now step 2, let's put 0 values inside those locations. Right? You got it? So what if, I'm telling you, what if you want to create arrays that you are gonna use later to put some values inside, like 10 here, 12 here. Don't you think that we waste our energy for adding zeros once in it? It's going to be a loop here. So we are going to use 2 loops technically, right? Just have that in mind. The next function that we are going to use is the next, let's try this one first, everybody. Done. Okay. Done. Awesome. Harlan. Done. Howie. QY. Forever remember. Q. Okay. Peter, done?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
It's always eight, right? What is MD array? Like the type.
It's NumPy kind of things. I saw it. Actually, let's just search it. I'm not sure, NumPy dimension or something. But it's for all the arrays we have ND. We call it ND array. Can you please search it for me and tell?
But the other arrays from NumPy were just relating.
No, it's for everything that we have for NumPy arrays. It has ND. Yeah. What is the ND stands for? Dear Python. Yes.
Is the one zeros that do they exist but they're like
Because what do we use zeros for? One, we want nutrient element for summation, right? Am I right? And why ones? Whenever we want to have multiplications, and we want to. These two are always there in all the things. But what is the ND?
Yeah, like.
Yeah, but what is the
Oh, I didn't know.
Okay. Don't worry. Yes. Sorry. N-dimensional. That's what I guess. But yeah, I just wanted to n-dimensional. Makes sense. N-dimensional.
Well, whatever.
Thank you. Yeah. Merci. Your name was? Taikai. Merci. Okay. Look at this one. What if I say a range between 0 to 20. So it's going to be 0, 1, 2, all the way to 19, not 20. But what if we have 3 elements? The last element would be the steps. So it's going to be 0, not 1, 2, 4, 6, and so on. And what is this one? Promise not to read the green line. Everybody's going to read the green line.
If we done like one of these, line space,
Excellent.
like, we done equal number of, okay, between 0 to 1, equal to 1, so 5 is.
Awesome.
Divided by 5.
Excellent, Matthew, Maharshi and Matthew. Yes, Matthew, you wanted to say something? Just like Instagram generation, just like good. Actually, you're gonna get the first, which is 1, the second, which is first, which is 0, and then the second element 1, and we are gonna slice it into 5 different equal portions. So it's gonna be 0, 0.25, and then 0.5, and so on and so forth. Everything is fine so far? Yeah? Ismail? Fine? I mean, fine, everything is fine? Awesome. Look at this one. Here we say random, random. Why it emphasizes on random? Yes, Matthew. Between 3 and 3, right?
Oh, can I answer?
Yes, sir.
So it's creating a 3 by 3 multi-dimensional array between the value of 0 and 1.
I resist to give bonus mark, but I can't. Okay.
Just give it to net first.
After we finish the class, come here. I want to tell you something. Good, Maharshi. Awesome. Yes. First and then second, Harlan, and then Owen. Yep.
I'm just confused as to why it's between 0 and 1.
Exactly. Whenever we say random, it's something between 0 and 1. But there's one question that they haven't. Sorry, first, Owen, then I'm going to ask my question. Yes.
Why exactly are we voting random twice? What exactly is
Just to emphasize.
what's that?
To emphasize, to say that random, okay, not random, random.
Costly, but that's why.
Well, that's a good question. The answer is no. In the next, you're gonna see, we don't have just only random, we have rand ints, for example, which is going to give integer numbers between the range that you pass. So one of the options is giving random, which is between 0 and 1, as one of our 2 numbers said. Yeah, so that's what, yes. So,
Where, like, why between 0 and 1? Where is that specified?
just ask the one thing. That's the easiest way that you can get something, and not in all the languages you have that luxury of saying rand is giving integer numbers, random integer numbers between 0 and 10. We needed to calculate. The easiest way is to have something between 0 and 1, and then multiply it by 10 and just round it and just generate the range that it is. You know what I'm saying? For instance, let me just tell you. Imagine that you want to have random numbers between 0 and 10. The original x is between what? Between 0 and 1. Am I right? What do you need to do? Very simple. Say x multiply 10, so then it's going to be between 0 and 10. All right. What if I want a range between 40 and 50? What are you gonna do? Very simple. To this equation, add 40 to everybody, all the sides of the equation. So So it's going to be number between, you know what I'm saying?
So like the base number of random. Always in 0 and 1.
It's the original random generator was something that generated numbers between 0 and 1. But there are two questions that they actually have. And two scenarios. Imagine that we want all to generate random numbers that are equal among all the crowds. Why? Because I want to draw a graph. And my random numbers, if they are different from Peter, and from Megan, from Ennis, and so on, then it's going to be what? His graph is going to be different from hers, and so on. Is it possible to make all the random numbers similar? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, depends on the constraints that you set.
I think it's for, it's,
Where's the cheat sheet?
variation, I just divide and then.
Excellent, yes. The other scenario is I want to run one algorithm and I have some errors and I want to fix it. If every time I receive different random series, I can't just find the real problem. Okay? I need to have just one series of random numbers and just fix it, and after that I go forward and then. Does that make sense? Okay, that's one part. The other thing is we talked about this. Do you know how random numbers are generated initially? Because guys, if I ask you, okay, give me a number between 0 to 10. 5. Why 5?
Because
Just 5. Why you're asking, you said random in that case. Do you think the computer has something like that? Okay, just 5. So how computer comes up with this random? Yep. Oh, it was just stretching or something. Bad time for stretching. Okay. Any? Yes.
About how it generates the random number.
Okay, how they generate? Yes, that's the question. How they generate random numbers?
That's ChatGPT.
Excellent, guys, use ChatGPT now, what comes in the exam, okay.
Suggestively, it's a pseudo random number generator.
Lovely, pseudo number generator, so technically random numbers that we have, they're not random, they are pseudo randoms. And what are the elements that we use for making random numbers? CPU clock, what else?
Sorry.
Did you see that it says something like they combine CPU clock, time, date, and some other random?
It chooses a random seed, which,
It generates randoms.
yes.
It generates random seed based on time.
Set it yourself as well.
Oh, that's gonna be the next one. But right now, we understood we're going to generate random numbers. And for that, we need to have a kind of seed. And that seed has come from date, time, CPU, clock, and so on. Just multiply them and divide them by a million, then you're gonna just get something like that. But let's go to the next together. How about this one? What is the difference between random? That's your question. So this time it doesn't say that, hey, don't use random. Just a normal random is fine. So what is normal random?
Negative number.
I don't know. I didn't ask if I knew it.
it also goes beyond the 1.
Goes beyond 1. So what is Yang? What is normal? Normal random. Sorry? From -1 to positive. Okay, do you think that we don't have any number below -1 or any number above +1? We have. Okay, any answer? Okay, let me tell you. the normal random is based on, this is going to be the mean, the average, which is the average is 0, and the standard deviation would be 1. What is a standard deviation? Imagine that in 2 classes. Okay, let me ask you this. Imagine that we have 2 societies. In one of them, people get the average. Imagine, just I'm fabricating. Imagine that in that society, the average is 75. And in the other society, well, we have something like this, and average is still what? Is 75. Which one do you think that is closer to a justice society? Right or left? Okay. This is less standard. The thing that are different in these two is not average, it's a standard deviation. It's being how far they are from the mid. Does that make sense? So, well, for this one, for societies, we prefer, but that's not always the case. For instance, for some of the stuff, sometimes we need to have variation, right? And diversity. In that case, it's better to have bigger standard deviation or ST. What is this one? 3 rows, 3 columns. Okay, how about this? Random fit. Do you see that, Stefan? We have tons of form of randoms. Random is just a standard version. But we have random normal, normalized form of random. We have random, and that is why Python is that much likable. You don't need to generate those things. You can just simply say, hey, I want integer numbers between 0 to 10, not including 10 for sure, 3 rows, 3 columns. Everybody, please try them. And whenever you are done, please let me know. Yes. Done. Excellent. Done. Let's see. Let's just wait for 30 seconds. You want. See, I said. Thank you, Dennis. Okay. Let's go to the next part. How about I? I is having that diagonal kind of thing once, right? And do you remember that I said for zeros, for example, first you allocate memory and then you initialize the allocated memories by zeros, right? Look at this. What if I don't need to initialize them? So is it possible just to say, hey, allocate the memory for me? If you look, empty is for that. Empty has just one step. Empty creates just one allocation, not putting any values. But my question for you is, why inside empty array we have some values? You said that there shouldn't be any, but there is. Why? What is not this?
What's the question?
See, the question is, in empty, we just allocate spaces for an array, right? But we don't say put zeros, like it's not empty dot zeros. Why? Why? After running that, it shows that in every single allocated space, we have some values.
Placeholder data.
Excellent. Peter said it. Look. For yes,
What if the value at the memory location doesn't match the type? Like what if value or index 3 was straight?
we have two options. I'm gonna talk about this. But we have two options. If it is possible, for instance, you say 3.14 and the array that you have is integer array. It's going to truncate the value. Right? It's going to convert it to integer. If it's not possible to fit it, it's gonna raise error. Like you say, hey, put values with Reza inside the integer array. It's going to say I can't, error. So there we have two scenarios. But getting back to here, as Peter said, when you say empty, it keeps the garbage values that we have initially in those locations. It's not gonna update or change it. So that is why in some of the computers, you see that you have the same values. In some computers, you have different values, right? Because you have tried different instructions. What do you have in your computer, Peter?
I think it's like it's very good, 1.1.1.
1.1.1.
I did three.
Okay, how about you, Negi? How about Mahir? 1.1.1. Okay, you see, computers to computers, they're different. So before I get to the next part, which is yes, it's a kind of new chapter. Let me explain one thing. Today or tomorrow, I'm going to upload the first assignment, which is relevant to, very simple, relevant to, whatchamacallit, on NumPy. So the deadline, the due, maybe I'm gonna just make something as a temporary deadline, but don't worry about it. Whenever we finish the whole content of NumPy, then 5 days after that. So you have it from now, so you can start, just working on it, thinking about it, but at least you're gonna have 5 days. And people found it like 4 hours is enough, but please don't rely on what I said. Start just reading and reviewing. Maybe for Reza, it takes 30 hours, you never know. Okay, but that's one thing. The other thing is, hopefully before the midterm, I'm going to announce the second assignment as well. The term project, it could be an individual project. It could be a group project. You could have 1, 2, 3, 4, maximum 5 people for doing that project. So it could be individual or maximum the group of 5. What could be the content? Okay, I make it as flexible as possible. So it could be anything relevant to machine learning, deep learning. I'm going to suggest some alternatives if somebody says that, Reza, I thought about everything and I couldn't find anything. Okay? So let me just quickly tell again. Please, if you want to do it in a group of 4 or 5, find your team members. And any topic relevant to machine learning, deep learning, even IoT. For instance, you say, I want to work with Arduino or Raspberry Pi, or not. But please, if you are working with Raspberry Pi, use Python. You could have other compilers as well, other languages as well, but just use Python, which makes sense. That's pretty much it. I want you to pick something that you enjoy working on it. As long as it is kind of relevant to data science, that is fine. So IoT, IoE, smart cities, even you can go that far. Apart from it, yes, I just explained. I didn't miss anything. So Did I say that I'm gonna leave that file at the end of the NumPy? I'm not gonna give you the file now, but at the end, this Jupyter Notebook file is very convenient for reviewing for the midterm. Yes. Yeah.
So a while ago, we made np.clos 10 in data type int.
Uh-huh.
That data type int, like the specific word int, is not in like single quotes. So why on that line it's in 16 in single quotes?
Do you see this page? Okay. Page 41. It talks about the what is the major language? What is the original language that Python is written based on that? C, right? So whether you say int 32 single quote, or you say np dot int, they're going to just refer to one thing. As a kind of exception, both of these two guys, they have the same performance because they refer to the same time. Doesn't make sense? So whether you say this, as you said, where is it? Guys, these are very detailed questions. I'm happy that I randomly, I knew this answer. Okay, so if you say inside single quotes, it means that you are referring to C implementation of that. Otherwise, if you say np dot, it's a NumPy version of it, and they both have the same performance. But now you opened another gate for me, and that is the question that I want to ask you guys. I'm not going to answer, but I want you to get ready for next week that we are going to get there. We have some ideas. Imagine that you have two separate methods. One of them is NumPy dot, and the other one is just Python. You don't need to say dot. I'm just fabricating. Imagine that we have NumPy that is square root, and we have a square root. One of them is Python, the other one is NumPy. Which one do you prefer to use? I repeat it. Between Python methods and NumPy methods, if they both use, can you hear me, Josephine, at the end? Okay, good. I had a friend of mine who started teaching in one college. And after the first day, she called me and said that with a kind of broken noise, the voice is totally off. So he said, so you teachers are like that? I was like, hey, welcome to the league. So you have to shout in the class, and thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Namaste.
But I would recommend those.
Really? So I'm gonna take a picture out of it. So later. Peter always have good recommendations. So anyway, the question is, again, if you have the option between choosing Python, let me just say, hey, Python is something that initially was there, right? But NumPy is something that I have to install things. Which one do you prefer? Python or NumPy? Develop it. Sorry? Who said NumPy? I said lots of good things about Python. Then you say NumPy?
It's still Python. Just the library.
Actually, unfortunately, he's right. But I'm not going to say one for now. If you have options between NumPy and Python, so the more rational choice, especially when you're dealing with big data, right? Huge data sets. The best is to use NumPy. We're going to talk about it next week, mostly. How about the next part? Zeros. This is something that Mr. Alban asked, am I right? But why we have int integer 16 and why we have here numpy int 16. And I already said these two guys just refer to, they just point to the same functionalities. To work with I didn't see, yeah. So the thing is, it says the basics of NumPy arrays. I very much like the first sentence. It says data manipulation in Python is nearly synonymous with NumPy array manipulations. Getting back to Harlan's question, do you remember that we had a discussion? Read that one again, the first sentence.
For seconds,
Yes, please.
that manipulation Python is synonymous with NumPy array.
We have to meditate on this. It's the key for all the things that we discussed. So everything that happens, data frame and so on and so forth, what is happening underneath is this one. So for having data, we need to, as you see, know about the shape, size, number of dimensions, and so on. We need to be able to access specific unit of the data of the array for fetching the data or changing the data. We need to slice. We need to reshape. Do you remember the example that we started our session with, that video for deep learning? We said reshaping 28 by 28 is going to convert it to 784. And joining and splitting arrays. So we can just go through part of it based on the time that we have. Getting to this part. So I want everyone, meanwhile, let me just give you homework. Please, meanwhile that I'm taking care of the attendance, you arrived in a very good time. So please just make sure that you finish page, what do we call it? What's the page number? 42, 43, and 44, all the way to this part. Please just before array slicing. So please work on, type them, go through them while I'm taking care of the attendance. So Peter the grades here, and Megan. And 42, guys, the one that has that basics of number. That was a big yawn. So 42, all the way to the middle of 44. National.
We said my computer was super fast yesterday. It is fast, but I find that it's still and it usually lasts like 2 days.
Nice, but for this one,
Yeah.
The second problem is what's the first letter? Okay, what's the next? And, sir, what are the remaining? Yeah. Great. Why not? That's the first. So instead of. Okay. How about this circulation? We get some. And third. What is the first number of your student? And. And no problem, no problem. Right. Yeah.
So, everybody is done with the. Okay, let me switch to Colab version. Maybe you can save time by. Okay, whenever you give me signal, I'm gonna continue explaining. Thank you very much. Merci. Bravo. Okay, so what we are going to do here, we import NumPy. Just once in a while, I import the library like that. And the reason for that is I want to make sure, for instance, I started in the middle of the session. We include NumPy library. What we do here, guys, this is numpy.random.seed. What is happening in this? Technically, we generate similar seed for all the computers, and your random numbers would be the same as mine. So it doesn't have anything to do with your clock of the CPU, with time and so on and so forth. So everybody should receive X1 as this number. Please, can you confirm that your numbers are 503379? Okay, and that is because the seed that we used all equal. If you change that to 40, let me just change that to 40, for example. and you change it to 42, you see that it's gonna be 675,882 for all of us. And I'm gonna just change it to 0 again. Oops, sorry, but anyway, to make sure that it's going to be. Okay, x2 should be what you see there, and x3 the same. So what is x3? We say I'm going to have 3 tables, and each table has 4 rows and 5 columns. Do you see that? I repeat it. I'm going to have 3 table, and each table has 4 rows and 5 columns. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, and each of them, they have 4 rows and 5 columns. Let's start with x3. If you say x3 dot ndim, it's going to be number of dimensions. So yes, sure, no worries. Done?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. No worries. So for x3, if you say that x3 dot ndim, number of dimensions, it's gonna say we have 3 dimensions there. And if you say, okay, what is the shape of our data set array? It's gonna say we have 3 tables, and each table has 4 rows and 5 columns. Multiply these numbers. 3 multiply 4, 12. Multiply 5, it's going to be 120 divided by 2, so 60. Huh? That is why if you say x3 size, it's going to tell you 60 elements. Let me ask you one thing. What is every single element's type?
I think,
Technically, it's 64.
Actually, the integer type that we have here is 64. And if you divide 64 by 8, which is the number of bits you have in each byte, how many bytes do we have in every single element? 8. So that is why if you type, guys, the first thing, I'm sorry, I have to start with this one to say, if you say x3.d type, it's going to tell you it's integer, but not any integer. It's not integer 16 or integer 32. It's integer 64, huh? Right? And if you say, how about the number, if you say item size means the number of bytes that we have for every single element, 64 bits divided by 8, which is going to give you 8 bytes, right, Maharshi? So, how about the next one? Tell me, we have 60 elements, and each element occupies 8 bytes. Multiply these two. 480, which is going to be the total size. So if you say x3 dot n bytes, it's going to give you 480. Right? Everybody accept? Now it's time for us. Imagine that the x1 contains, guys, we go almost somewhere around middle of the page 45. I'm gonna tell you. So we're not that much far from it. I know that I have stolen 10 minutes for the other break, but we're gonna finish sooner. 5 minutes. Be here. One is x1 0.
Zero.
Get the element, the first element, which is index 2. How about 4? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. So it's going to be 7. So x1 -1. What's it mean?
Goes back. It's fine. Goes back from the top.
Excellent. 1% just today, Peter. Awesome. Great. We have. This is the most active section. I love this class. Look, if we say -1, it starts from the right side. What if I say -2? It's going to be not the first, second, last. Huh? Not the last, second, last. The first, second. Okay, so everybody, please type x2. So you see similar thing, right? If I say 0, 0, it's going to be 1. True, false. Zero, zero. So what is 0, 0 here?
But, it's two dimensional array, that's why.
Start from here. Line number 0, column number 0, so it's gonna be 3. Correct. So, guys, you didn't see that it is 2, right? It is one, it's 1, right? So, forget it. 0, 1, 2, line number 2, and then column number 1, so it's gonna be 1. I'm gonna pause here for a few seconds. Make sure that everybody could type or follow. What is this one? Line number 2, and then what should I
Third L.
call from
Yeah.
the last one, as you said, correct? 7, lovely. Okay. Diego, fine. Make sure that everybody could. So what about this one? Hopefully it doesn't show the answer. Okay. This is wrong, right? What is happening here? Yes, sir.
It's going to the, well, in our terms, it's going to be the third array. And just the final.
Oh.
No, that's got it.
That was great. Correct answer for another star. Don't worry. So it's going to be to show error, right?
Yeah, that's okay. Hopefully, it's not.
Well, one would show error. You can replace 3 with this 12.
What is your answer? Modify it. Mega, other section. Found you. Correct, awesome. Yes, it's going to modify that. And if you say x2 again, so you're gonna see that, yes, it's already replaced the previous value, so the new one is gone. And x1, everyone, please try x1, just to see what do we have in x1. And I ruined the whole puzzle. Okay, just imagine these just a little. Okay, yes. Okay. Guys, what could be the answer? This is x1, and I say go to x1 to the first element, which is 5, and replace it. What is the type of this one? Integer, multiples. And I say put that float value. So option A, it's going to raise error. Option B, it's going to change the array type to float. Option C, it's going to truncate 3.15. And it's gonna replace three. So A, B, C.
See,
Sometimes it's good to be fast. Yes, sorry? Exactly, because we said that it is what? It's a restrictly statically typed, yes?
can you still change the data type of that array? Not with that, but with the actual.
We can, but the thing is, the way that we can do it, and that's what I know, if I need, which I needed before. And in some other languages, you have that concept too. What I created, I used something like empty. I created arrays based on the type that I wanted, and one by one, I just copied the values over there. That's how it works. That's, at least that's what I know. Okay? So, but that's a very good question. Guys, you asked tough questions. You started asking tough questions. Good. You should get coffee for the beginning of the class, not for the. We are almost done. So we are going to say X is range 10, which is going to be 0 all the way to 9. But what is this guy? Colon. What does it mean? Colon. Oh, let me just bring it. Look,
It's
I was like, why? He's standing. So, colon. Yes.
First by help.
Oh, one thing first, James. Yeah, but what is colon in general? Let me just give James a bonus first, but Shada and then you, yes. What is your section number? Found you, yes, Enes?
So you need the number of ten, which means it's gonna be somewhere in ten, because you said 5, it's gonna go from 0 to 4. And you said 5 dot dot, and it's gonna be that one. Then you can even add one more dot dot, which is gonna do steps like 2, gonna go 2 by 2.
Awesome. I like it. Look at this one. As Enes said, because whenever you see these codes, you have to say everything. Here we have everything at the beginning, means everything from the beginning all the way to 5. Is it going to include 5?
No.
Excellent. On the right side, exclusive. How about this one? Again, say from 5 all the way to the end. Is it going to have 9 as well? Yes or no? This one, yes.
It's not going to have 7.
Imagine that you haven't seen this, right? So exactly, it's gonna start from 5 inclusive, and this time you're gonna go all the way to the end. Yes.
Sorry, I'm sure you already answered those. Is that's bringing index, right? Not value.
Yeah, you're talking about the indices. That, oh,
Because we have
thanks for,
index 5.
Yeah, 5 by 5.
Value 5 is in there.
But maximum is gonna be 46.
that's the best and politest way of saying that, Reza. You have forgotten to say that these guys are indices. Excellent, yes, we are talking about the indices. Correct, thank you. How about this one, guys? The answer for this
4 to
100% is 4. No,
6.
yes, 4, 5,
5,
6, and 7.
Good.
True?
No,
Thank you very much. Excellent. The only person who didn't learn that is me. Everybody. Okay, how about this one? We say, guys.
and it's already answered that.
It's from 0 to
From
7.
That's like you said everything, but
But the
just
step
not
by
step 1 and 2 steps, right? You have to jump. Excellent, good. So the answer would be answer of what? Reza, I just came with my coffee. Answer what? Yes, you say. 0,
0,
2, 4, 6,
8.
8. Let me ask why I show the answers as well. So what about this one, guys?
Start at one, step of two, same thing.
So is it going to include 9, yes or no?
1, 3,
Who
5,
said
7,
yes?
9, yes.
Still Megan, right? And Peter, wow. You don't need to come to exam. You- Okay, 1, we start from 1 all the way to the end, but yes, step 2. How about this one?
Step -1 goes from the back, reverse order from the back end of the array.
You might think that this is something that I see all the day. Guys, this is the only class that I ask question and people answer. That's awesome. 1 bonus mark for everybody. So, really? Really. Actually, I found something interesting. In most classes, those people that receive lots of bonuses at the end of the semester, they exceed like 112. And I can't give anything more than 100. So that's a good thing that people will have bonus marks that you really don't need it. I'm not Robin Hood first. You get from, okay, so what is the meaning of this manual?
I think that it's gonna throw the area from the white split.
Excellent. Whenever you see that colon means everything, but instead of from this side, you're gonna go from that side. So the answer would be as you partially see 9, 8, 7, and so on and so forth. Okay, let's just review what x is. So it's not gonna change the value of x, but this one, if anybody gets that.
From 5 and then step backwards. -2.
5.
How about this? Those people, you already, all of you have lots of bonuses. How about Reza or somebody who has less bonus? Yes.
We start at 5 and then 3 by 2, which is like 5, 3, 1.
Lucas with K. Awesome, lovely. You start from 5, go backward, a step of 2, and everybody please type x2. One question here, I say x to 100, I say a is equal to x to these parts. Is it going to copy that to another location of memory? Yes or no? Actually, that is what I don't know as well.
Why? Why would I? It's gotta read it. We're just given an even instruction.
This is something that we are gonna learn next week. So give me time, guys. I could just review 45 pages. This is something that we are gonna learn next week. What I want you to think about why it works that way. Do you know that in a SQL or other environments, we have 2 things. We have tables and we have views. Huh? So views takes the original value or a copy of it. If you change something in a view, is it going to impact the original table or not? Why we have that concept in somewhere that it takes a copy, while in the other places, it actually manipulates. And do we have any way to say, hey, this time I actually want a copy of it in the memory, not the original? Think about that. Next week, we're going to answer all of these questions. Okay? But for now, what is the meaning of this colon?
Not to the second element.
Which all it means everything. Everything all the way to second line. Is it going to include second line? Yes?
Yeah, no.
Perfect. No. How about this one? Everything all the way to
Third column.
third column. Is it going to have index 3 column? So 0, 1, 2, but not third, right? And then first and second. How about, well, actually, this one. Let me just see one thing. Yes, this is, guys, this is the place that we are going to just stop. So we have just these 3. Tell me, what's the meaning of this?
It's up to the third element and two step.
Just, yes, sir, yes, please.
No, I'm actually.
Change your mind. So how about this? Let's ask more. Do you have any opinion? What is this? Yes,
Yeah, so for that, it's gonna go for 3 rows, but does not include the index 3. And for the second one, .2, it's gonna skip the second.
so it is going to take the first column,
Then skip the second, then.
not second, but the third column. So it's gonna be index 0 and index 2, right? We skip index 1 and lovely, excellent. Okay, the book has directly this one, but I thought that, okay, if I just give that immediately, then it could be a little bit confusing. Remember, x2 was 12, 5, 2, 4 in the first line. If you say, hey, for the rows, we have everything, but
Reverse
from,
order.
yes, reversing. So the last line would be the first, then the second last line, and then the first line comes last. Does that make sense? We reverse the lines. But how about this one? We keep it the way that it is, so we do not touch the iteration of the sequence of the columns. But if you say change it for both rows and columns, it's exactly flip it. So that is why, look at this, just compare it with the original. 12 was there, but right now it's here. 5 was there, right now it's here. 2 was there, and so on. So it's like, I mean, it's transposing, right? It's flipping as
It's flip it and mirror image.
flip and mirror. Yeah, even well, I'm happy. I thought that I couldn't find appropriate explanation because of my English, so it is hard to say it, right? Okay, so by saying that, thank you, Peter. You helped me a lot this session, and Maharshi, thanks for not giving any opportunity to others to get bonus marks. And everybody, thank you for this active class. Awesome, all of you are amazing, lovely, and yeah, see you next week. بچه میتونیم زودتر هم شروع کنیم که فقط شیدا رو باید یه جور جریمهش کنیم. چه جریمه به نظرتون خوبه؟ شوخی میکنم میدونید. We have one team member who came late, so we are thinking about how to penalize. Guys, coffee is fine, or coffee and Timbits? Which one? Are you feeling better? Coming to data science class is the remedy for all the diseases.
Only if I can make it to the last semester. Got that.
Yeah, I'm gonna just take a snapshot. So thank you very much.
Like I sing really impressive.
That's amazing.
That's
Yeah, that's. Hey. How are you doing? Okay, so I'm gonna tell you, let me just close something. I have to stop and stop recording as well. Sorry, give me a